Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be walking you through the second project of our challenge. And this project is going to be about loan approval. So we're going to be using Power BI to visualize the loan approval dataset. We're going to be answering a couple of questions. So this project is perfect for um, people interested in the financial sector of data analytics. In our first project, we worked through the healthcare, the COVID dataset. So that project was focused on healthcare. So we're going to be going through like 4 projects in total. So here's the second one. And the third one, not really sure what it's going to be about, but we're going to be covering various industries, real world industries. This is just to boost your confidence and to get you started really building stuff in data. Without further ado, let's get right in. So for this project, like I said, it's going to be about loan approval analysis. We're going to be using Power BI to visualize this data. Here's like the brief that I'm on right now, the brief of this project. You can find it in the resources folder. I'll link it in the description. Here's what the resources folder includes. So it includes the brief. It also includes some things to assist you, like measures, calculated columns, and data dictionary. This one also includes like the images, the overview of the dashboard we're going to create. So here's an overview of the dashboard we're going to create. Just a simple dashboard, just showing like some relevant details, just to let us know what factors is being considered to get our loan approved. So yeah, here's like the dashboard we're going to creating. We have our logo over here. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So let me first go through the brief. So here I included a fictional client. I actually created this brief using GPT. It's pretty easy to spin up. So here's our ideal client, Z Bank Microfinance Limited. So here you see the background of the company. You could just go through all of this. It's just some basic background stuff. And here's your role as a freelance data analyst. Here are some objectives: just to analyze loan application data and identifying key factors influencing approvals. This is important. So here's what our dashboard is mostly going to focus on. And yeah, let's just keep scrolling. So here's like the data set provided. So you can download this. It's from Kaggle. Let me just try to open this to see what it actually contains. So Kaggle offers a lot of data sets you can just to practice for learning purposes. And as you can see, we skip scrolling, we can see like how many people actually downloaded or viewed the data set. So you can see it's quite popular. A lot of people have been experimenting with it, maybe for machine learning or data visualization. So the dataset is just a basic dataset. Let's just look at the overview of the columns that are in there. As you can see, we just have like loan ID, gender, married, dependent. So just some basic columns that you can use to filter on. You can download your dataset over here. So I already downloaded it. It includes like 2 CSV files you can view. You can just choose any of these. I'm not really sure. Let me just try to open to see what the difference between these CSV files are. It might be the same, not really sure. Yeah, so I think it's pretty much the same thing, maybe with some updates. But you can go with any of this CSV. So here's just what it looks like after you've downloaded the dataset. So after that, let me just keep scrolling through the brief. So here's what the dataset contains. All the columns are all summarized. Uh, Feel free to create calculated fields or calculated columns like total income, loan to income ratio. This is optional, but it helps, and that we're going to be doing that actually for this project. There are some pre-created uh, calculated columns and measures in the resources folder. It's just like the code that you can copy into Power BI, and it's going to help you create the measures and columns just to streamline everything. what the client wants, just a clean, well-organized Power BI dashboard, of course, key metrics, approval rates, average loan amount, and at least 4 visuals showing patterns by gender, credit history, education, and property area. So yeah, that's just pretty much it. You can go through this brief. So here are some analysis ideas and the insights we're going to be getting. So these are all amazing questions that you might actually get in like a business setting, right? So yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into it. Let me try to open some of more resources in here. So here we have like the logo that we're going to be attaching to the dashboard just to make it look a little bit more personalized. So here's like this includes just the data dictionary, just the description of all the columns in the data sets, make things much more easier for you to get started with. So as I keep scrolling, you can see we have the data dictionary. We also have calculated columns in DAX. So here you can just copy all this code here. You can paste it into Power BI. Then you're going to create all these calculated columns. So we're going to do that together. And I'm going to try to explain what all this does as I create them. And here we have our measures over here also, just to make things much more interactive. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what this includes, just to streamline everything for you. So we're going to need all these columns and measures. Okay, so I'm in Power BI right now. So I already practiced creating the project over here. So we're going to try. I'm going to try to create this from scratch, so you can follow along. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to click on blank reports to create a blank. Once it's all loaded in, I'm going to import the data. But once you first log into Power BI, we're mostly going to focus on 3 things. Actually importing our data, transforming our data, and building our visuals. There are cases when you might want to like do some data modeling, and what that is just simply connecting 2 tables together based on certain columns, related columns, right? So for this tutorial, we're not actually going to do that because we don't have multiple tables to connect, unless you want to create a date table. But that's a tutorial for another day. So for this tutorial, we're just going to focus on getting our data, transforming our data, and building our. So to import our data, I'm just going to click on get data. So there are various ways you can get your data from. So here we're going to be focused on CSV. Okay, so I'm just going to open, here's the folder. So I'm going to import this one because I think it's the recent one, the most updated one. I'm just going to import this one into Power BI. All right, so here's like a preview of our data. Let's transform our data. We're just going to do some basic transformations. As we build our visuals, we're probably going to encounter some more transformations we might need to do. But for now, let's just do some basic transformations over here. So for the transformations we'll do, you can see over here, there's like Power Query Editor, and this is just going to be the interface where we're going to be transforming our data. If you're familiar with Excel, Excel also includes Power Query, so this shouldn't be new to you if you're familiar with Excel. So here, the first transformation we're going to do, as you can see over here, it has done some transformations for us. Here's where all the transformations you're doing is going to be logged. So we can see that we've done some promoted headers. It's just picking like some of the columns and adding them as headers. We've also, Power BI has also managed to like change the data type of our columns. So the first thing we can actually do is actually review this data type to see it is correct. So as you can see, a loan ID is in text data type. I think we might change it to integer, but we might leave it because it's like a combination of text and numbers. And gender is also in text. which is what we want. And for married, dependent is in integer, education text. I think everything is pretty much good over here. We don't need to change any more data type over here. Okay, this is good. Another thing we can do is just rename this to make it look even more cleaner, right? We can have this. It's not going to be easy while creating our measures or calculated columns. I'm just going to name this loan approval. Right, so let's just name this. As you can see, it has been renamed successfully. It looks much cleaner now. So another thing we can do, don't really show. Another thing that's best practice to do is just getting rid of blank values. Just looking for where we have blank values and just replacing that with null. As you can see over here, we have some blank values over here. Let me keep scrolling. If there's something else, we also have some blank values in gender. So what we can do first, we can try to replace this blank value with prefer not to say instead of having it blank. So we're just going to replace this. To do that is actually quite easy. I'm going to right click this and we're going to click on replace values. It's going to ask you what value are we finding, and in this case it's a blank value we're finding, so we're going to leave this as blank. We want to replace this with prefer not to say. All right, so let's try to see if it works. So let me keep scrolling. All right, so as you can see, we've managed to replace the blank values with this. Another thing we can do, I think we found something else over around here. Let's check the education to see. Okay, we don't have any blank values here. So self-employed, we have some blank values over here. So I'm just going to try to replace this blank value with null. So value to find, that will be blank. I'm going to replace it with, we're going to replace this with null. I'm just going to click on OK. And yeah, I think that is pretty much it. I don't think we have any more blank values. We might encounter some as we build our visuals, but yeah, for now I think we're pretty much good. We're good to go. All right, so I'm just going to like save this first. I'll click on close and apply. So I'm going to click on apply changes over here. All right, so our table has been imported over here, and with all the transformations all done. So as you can see over here, here are all the list of our columns in our table. And next, what we want to do now is we want to create some new columns, like some calculated columns. All right, so I went ahead to create calculated columns. I also went ahead to create our measures also, just to speed run things a bit. So for our calculated columns, let me just navigate to table view just to make things easier to comprehend. So for our columns, visualizing it, we can see that we have columns for total income, loan amounts in naira. So we're just converting it to a different currency. Loan term years, we're converting it to in a year format, and the loan to income, credit history flag, and the income band. So these are the columns we've created. The cool thing about the calculated columns is that it enables us to perform row by row calculations. Then it outputs the results in a different column. So for our measures also, what a measure is just like a summarization, like a calculation we could include in our visual. Unlike calculated columns that performs row by row calculations, a measure is like a standalone calculation that we can include in our visuals. So usually we use like a language called DAX, that is data analysis expression language, to create our measures. So we have various DAX functions, right? And for this, all we use it. Let me just open the resources document real quick. Here are some measures we created. We just use like some basic DAX functions like count rows. This one is just basically counting all the rows in like the table. Calculate. And what a calculate function basically does is just it performs a calculation, then it adds a certain filter to it. If you're familiar with SQL, it's like a where clause. So you perform a particular calculation, then you add like a filter to it. So I don't really want to bore you with what all this does. These are just some aggregate functions like average, median, and yeah, the divide, I think I already explained it, is just dividing this by this. We might use the slash, but to make things much more error free, that's why I'm using the divide function. So you can go ahead and copy all of this and you can follow along with me. So I already imported the um, columns and the measures. So now we can go ahead to start building our visuals. Alright, so to start building our visuals, we're going to navigate back to report view. And this is where we're going to focus on, all the charts we'll be using for our visuals. And so let me just go back to the brief to know exactly what questions we want to answer before I move forward. As I keep scrolling, here are some of all the questions we're going to try to answer. So I'm just going to start with the summary questions. This is what the stakeholders are going to see first, and that's what I always try to start with. It's just giving them an overview on how things are currently, and later on we can move down to more deeper insights. So the first visuals are going to create is going to be for the total applications, approved loans, and approval rate. Okay, so before I start building our visuals, the first thing we can do is to insert a text just describing what the report is all about. So you can see our text box over here. So let me just name this loan approval. Alright, so I'm just going to increase the font size a bit. Let's try 24, and now I'm just going to bolden this a bit. Alright, let me adjust this. Okay, I think it's pretty much good. I might shift it later on when I want to upload my logo. So I'm just going to keep it like this for now. So the first visuals we want to create are our cards. So whenever we just click on this, it's just going to create like a card for us, just showing us what's currently going on. So that's a great thing about a measure. Since we've performed all the calculations, the results are going to be presented in our visuals. So let me just move this over here. I might adjust the size later on. I'm just going to keep it as this for now. And another one, we're going to create it for approval rates, I think. Is this it? Yeah, approval rate. Alright, so I'm just going to keep this over here also. I'll adjust it later on, and that will be also for approved loans. Okay, so these are just some overview insights, just showing us what's currently going on, right? So now that we have this, before I move on, I need to make some adjustments. Normally in my cards, I like to add like a border. So to do that, I'm going to navigate to size and style, and I'll go to visual border. So I'll turn on the visual border for each of the cards. So you can see it's much more easier to see. You can find a way to separate these cards. So I'm just going to add some spaces to them. This is good. Oh no, it shouldn't be this far away. So let me adjust this. And I think I'm just going to increase this text size a little bit. All right, I think this is good. All right, so let's dig deeper. Let's answer some more deeper questions. So another question we can try to answer here, now that we have an overview or summary of what's going on, to start digging deeper, Another question we can answer is, does your credit history make or break your loan? This just means, are you likely to get your loan approved if you don't have a credit history? So to do this one, let me navigate back to Power BI. So we're going to need a total of 2 columns. We're going to need credit history, I think, or maybe credit history flag. And we're also going to need uh approval rate, possibly, not really sure. So let me just start building this. And this, I think a bar chart might be great, or column chart, whatever that is. So let's use a stack column charts. So let me click on this credit history flag, and I might also include the approved loans, and I'll also include the rejected loans, just to know the percentage of loans that are being approved and rejected. So here's a start column chart. You might change it to a clustered column chart just to separate the two a bit. So it's much easier. Anyone is good, but I think this is better. So here, as you can see in this visual, we can see that the approved loans is skyrocketing for those that have a credit history. So you can see over here, it's really low, the loans that are being approved for those that don't have a credit history. So now we've managed to answer the questions. Now we know that you need to have a credit history to get your loan approved. So let me adjust this a little bit to make room for more visuals, right? And this card, I think I should make it a little bit much more smaller, but it really depends. So let's keep going. Later on, we'll try to make some adjustments to make it easy to read. All right, so another question we can answer is income the golden ticket to loan approval? So this basically just means like, does your income have to be high to get like your loan approved? So we want to know, how likely are you going to get your loan approved if your income is low, right? So let's try to answer this one. And for that, we're going to need the income band column. And of course, we're also going to need the approved loans and rejected loans. And for this one, we can also use let's use a stacked bar chart, or yeah, let's use this one to just see. And also Power BI tend to suggest some visuals that might be best. So I'm going to show you what I mean a little bit. So we're going to need, like, of course, income band. We're also going to need approved. Is it approval? Let's try approval rate percentage. I'm not really sure if this will work. Okay, yeah, I think this can work, right? So let me just adjust this a little bit to make it match this. I could also include like the visual border that I included over here, just to separate the two, right? So I'm going to go to size and style, and I'll navigate to visual border, and I'll add it for this one too. So now we can make the adjustments we need. Okay, here we can see that for those with the higher income band tend to have the highest approval rate. Yeah, so let's move on to the next one. To make room for more visuals, I have to make some adjustments to this. So let me just do that. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Let me move this to the side. Make it a bit smaller also. Right, so we have room for more visuals. Okay, so another question we want to answer is to know who gets bigger loans, men or women. So that will be average loan amounts by gender, right? So for that one, we're going to need, might also use a bar chart. That also works. So we need the average loan amount. And we also need the gender column. So here we can see those that have a higher income are males for some reason. And this one is preferring not to say. So all these ones don't want to disclose their gender. But we can also try to go with this one. We can see males are getting the higher loans. So let me just adjust this. Okay, I think I may also make this a bit, move this up a bit. Same for this one also. So just to make this much more, bigger. Okay, I think we can go with this. Let's move on to the next question. We also want to know, is gender a factor in getting loan approved? So based on this brief also, I wanted to like split by certain columns, right? I wanted to split. Let's go back to the brief. Here's the brief over here. So I want to split by gender, by credit history, education, and property area. Let's create for approval rate percentage by education, right? To just see what is going on. So let's do that. So let's use a bar chart also. We're going to need the approval rate percentage by education. So you can see over here that graduates tend to have the highest approval rate. So let me adjust this a little bit. Let's add a visual border. So I'm going to go to size and style, and I'll turn on the visual border. I'll do the same for this one also. All right, so we have this one created. So let's move on to the next one. We might also want to drill down on credit history. I think we already did that, right? Which is this one. Or we did for income band also. So property area where they live, right? So let's just try to create that one. Let's create let's try to use a column chart here to see. Let's approval rate percentage by property area, right? So like I was saying, you can see Power BI suggests some visuals we can go with, right? So let's use I think the bar chart is way better. All right, the bar chart is way better. So we can see those that live in semi-urban locations have the highest approval rate, and those that live in rural areas have the lowest. So let's just separate this. I keep it here. There's nothing wrong. I think it doesn't hurt to move this up a little bit. Let me do this for this also. And this one too. So let me turn on the visual border for this one. All right, so we have this one created. So what's the next question? Let me move this one up a bit also. All right, it's much more cleaner to look at. So the last question, or some other question we want to answer, is I think we pretty much did it all. Approval represented by gender. Yeah, I think we pretty much answered all the questions. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So what we can do now, you just include like a slicer over here that we can use to drill down and filter our visuals. So what slicer can we include? We can include a slicer for married, just to know if they're married or not. So let's change this to a slicer. Here's a slicer visual over here. So here, and okay, I think we have like some error over here. We can see that there's a blank value over here, and we don't want that. So that's why I mentioned earlier in this video that there might be cases you might find some errors or transformations you want to do when building your visuals, right? So to do that, we're going to try to get rid of this. So I'm going to go back to transform data. So let me go to home. I'll go back to transform data. And what we want to do now, we want to replace the blank values with null, right? Or maybe another value apart from this. So let me just click on replace value. So just like gender, we might replace it with prefer not to say. Just to make things cleaner a little bit, you know. Let me just replace this. Let's just check our visuals to see if the changes have been made. So I'll click on close and apply. Okay, you can see over here that our changes have been added. Everyone's there are ways you can just get rid of some things you don't need, right? So to do that, all you have to do is right click on this and click on exclude. So it's just going to get rid of that from our visual. So we're just left with yes and no. So you can use this to drill down and filter our visuals. So when I click on yes, you can check the approval rate percentage of those that are married. And when I click on no, you can also check the approval rate percentage. So let's try that right now. So this just makes your visuals a little bit more interactive. Let me click on yes. You can see the approval rate percentage of those that are married, and you can see it's making some changes to the rest of our visuals also. If I click on no also to see, you can see over here that the approval rate percentage of those that are not married are much lower than those that are married. All right, so I think that's pretty much what we need for this report. So all we have to do now is upload my logo and just make some edits to all the names. So to upload our logo is just to do that. Let me move this to the side a little bit. I might also like adjust the font size. All right, so I'm just going to, let's make this 24. All right, so I'll move this to, so I'll move this to the side a little bit. All right, so let's see if we can make room for our logo. Also, I think let's try to adjust this card size. It's way too big, just to make space for other stuff. All right, so we can see we're making room for other visuals. So I'm just going to move this over here, move this one too over here. So now we have some space for our logo. All right, so let's try to upload our logo. To upload our logo, we have to navigate to insert. And let me just download it over here. So let me just download this real quick. So all right, so our logo is downloaded. So let's try to import this into Power BI. So I'm just going to click on insert, and that will be image. And here's the logo we downloaded. All right, so you can see over here that our logo is over here. So you can try to adjust the size a little bit just to make it match the report. All right, so we can make some adjustments. I think it's great like this. I think it's pretty much good. All right, so you can also adjust the text. Let's bring it down a little bit. All right, I think it looks good. And the great thing about Power BI is that you can add like some link or way to add some action to our logo. So to do that, all you have to do is turn on the action. There are various actions you can add. So you can add it to go back to your original reports. You can even add a custom web URL, right? So I'm just going to leave it as back. So whenever they click on this, it's just going to take us back to the original report. So that's pretty much all we need here. And let me add like a visual border over here also. just to make things much more presentable. So I'm going to go to size and style, and I'll turn on the visual border. So the last thing I want to do now is I'm just going to try to change the names of all of this to just make it match what is, you know, in the resources folder, right? So I'm just going to change it to make it much more easier and presentable. Okay, so I went ahead and renamed all these. You can see it's much more presentable. So all I did, I just copied and pasted all of this into Power BI. And to rename your visuals is not really that hard. All you have to do is turn on the title. You can see when I turn this off, it goes away. So whenever once your title is on, you're just going to insert your text over here. And what I also did is I turned off the category label. So what this is, you can see when I turn this on, it's adding like a default text over here. So that's why I decided to turn this off. Then that's basically all I did. And yeah, the next step, and I guess the last thing we can do now is to just change the theme to just match the, you know, theme color of the logo, right? So to do this, I'm going to go to view, and yeah, here's where we're going to change our themes, right? So you can see we have a variety of themes. So one we can use is, I guess we can use this one. Let's see if it works. Yeah, I guess this one works. We can go with this one. It matches the logo of the company. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. And let me just make some adjustments over here to just make it match the cards. And yeah, I guess it looks great. So then just rename the report. All right, so I renamed the dashboard to loan approval dashboard. And yeah, that's all we going to do for this tutorial. So we managed to import our data sets, and we managed to make some data transformations, and we answered some really great questions that executives might actually ask, right? So we wanted to know like how many people, just some overview insight to get a summary of what's currently going on. And we did some filtering to know exactly what makes or breaks your loan approval. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope this video or tutorial was helpful. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop it down in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a like on this video if it was helpful. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next challenge. Cheers.